Hello, my name is John Clare, and this is my Chapter 3 and 24 assignment for my psychology class, my kinesiology 5520 class. In Chapter 3, at its core, it's sport and exercise psychology. Is about understanding how the mind affects performance and how participation in sport or physical activity impacts mental well-being. One of the big takeaways here is that this field is built on both science and practice. We learn that sports psychology uses the scientific method to make informed conclusions, not just hunches or personal stories. That means forming hypotheses, conducting studies, collecting data, and drawing conclusions that can be replicated. This emphasis on evidence-based knowledge sets it apart from more informational approaches to performance coaching. Another essential idea is that sports psychologists wear these three main hats, basically. The researcher, who, he asks the question, what's the best way to mentally recover from injury? The teacher, who shares the knowledge with students and coaches and athletes. And then the consultant, who works directly with teams and individuals to improve focus, motivation, confidence, and other mental skills. A key distinction we discussed is between clinical sports psychologists and educational sports psychology consultants. Clinical professionals deal with serious mental health challenges like depression, eating disorders, or substance abuse and must be licensed. Educational specialists, by contrast, work on enhancing performance through mental skills training and don't treat clinical disorders. This chapter also highlights that no one-size-fits-all approach exists in this field. Some psychologists lean toward cognitive behavioral techniques, while others may take a humanistic or psychodynamic approach. What matters most is choosing methods that fit that individual or that situation. One quote from the chapter that stuck with me was, "This can't be great physically if you're not strong mentally." That message reinforces the idea that mental skills like imagery, focus, goal setting, and self-talk aren't just extras. They are essential tools for success, especially in high-pressure environments. Another practical concept was periodization of mental training. The idea that just like athletes train their bodies in phases, they should also train their minds in phases. Mental toughness doesn't develop overnight. It's built gradually through consistent, intentional work, where we're working on our brain. And finally, this chapter reminds us of the importance of ethics. Confidentiality, competence, and acting in the best interest of clients are not optional. They're core responsibilities. When we're dealing with people's emotions, pressure, and self-worth, we have to act with professionalism at all times. Chapter 24, it sort of zooms out and helps us understand how to become a sports psychology professional, what challenges we face, and how we can keep growing the field responsibly. The chapter begins with a big reality check. Sports psychology is still an emerging profession, and in many places, it's not yet fully regulated. That means there's still a lack of clarity in who can call themselves a sports psychologist. To combat this, organizations like the Association for Applied Sports Psychology offer certifications like the Certified Mental Performance Consultant, which helps standardize the training and ethics of practitioners. One of the things I found most encouraging is that career opportunities are expanding far beyond just coaching athletes. Today's sports psychologists are working in college athletics and professional sports, military training and performance units, performing arts like musicians or dancers, health and fitness settings, and corporate leadership and executive coaching, where there's tons of speakers that will speak at the conferences. This means the skills we are learning, mental skills, performance strategies, communication, and motivation, can apply to almost any environment where people are striving to be their best. A topic that really stood out to me in this chapter is the need for cultural competence. Sports psychology must be inclusive, not exclusive, inclusive. We can't assume that every athlete experiences sports the same way. Gender identity, race, religion, disability, language, socioeconomical background all affect how someone responds to stress, motivation, and even goal setting. As future professionals, we need to be aware of these differences and create safe, respectful, and empowering environments for everyone to work with. Technology is also changing the game. Many sports psychologists now use biofeedback, virtual sessions, mobile apps, and even AI tools to help athletes manage anxiety, track focus, and improve recovery. But with that comes new responsibilities like protecting privacy and ensuring ethical use of data. Another big focus of Chapter 24 is mental health. This has become a growing concern in sports at all levels. Athletes, especially young ones, face pressure to perform, social media scrutiny, burnout, and anxiety. Sports psychologists are now playing a dual role, not just helping athletes perform better, but helping them feel better, which is pathetic. That's sad that we're in that situation. This is a powerful shift that's changing how coaches, schools, and sports organizations view mental well-being. It can't just be a win first. You have to be able to work with a kid and focus on their personal health and not just all about winning. We also learned that team culture and organizational health. Sports psychologists aren't just supporting individual athletes, they're helping entire teams build cohesion, resolve conflict, and align with shared values. Concepts like leadership style, communication, and accountability matter just as much as mental toughness when building a winning culture. Finally, this chapter introduced us to career development and the importance of continuing education, mentorship, and reflective practice. The best professionals in this field never stop learning. Whether it's attending workshops, giving feedback, or earning advanced credentials, sports psychology is a field where growth is constant. So just to put it all sort of together, from Chapter 3, we learned sports psychology is grounded in science and that mastering the mind is just as essential as mastering the body. And in Chapter 24, we saw that the field is evolving quickly. New technologies, new settings, and growing awareness of mental health mean that the future of sports psychology is wide open. But with that opportunity comes a responsibility to practice ethically, stay educated, and put the client first. If there's one thing these chapters made clear is that we have the power to make a real difference in people's lives, not just by helping them win games, but by helping them become more resilient, focused, and fulfilled. And then my Big Five personality test, like 120 questions or something. It was pretty detailed. Where I scored high, I had high anxiety. The flight or fright system of the brain or anxious individuals is too easily and too often engaged. Therefore, people who are just high in anxiety often feel something dangerous is about to happen. I think I could be that. I scored a low anger, low in depression. I'm usually a happy-go-lucky guy. I'm not self-conscious at all, so that was low. And then immoderation was high. Immoderate individuals feel strong cravings and urges that they have difficulty resisting. My God, that's true. They tend to be oriented toward short-term pleasures and rewards rather than long-term consequences. Yep. Vulnerability was a low score. Friendliness was my highest score. That was 18. That was the highest. Gregoriousness, no idea what that is, but pretty high in that one. Assertiveness, I'm very assertive. I like to speak out and take charge. That was high. Activity level is high. That was a 15. Excitement seeking was high. And then cheerfulness was also high. Everything else was like pretty low or like average score. I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought like the results were sort of spot on with how I feel and how I am as a person. It was sort of eye-opening to see some of the low scores, like cautiousness. I'm not really a cautious person. I sort of just go out into the situation and sort of figure things out. So, Professor, I really, really appreciate you letting me make up these assignments. It means the world to me, and I will never forget it. So thank you very much.